They set this trap 3 years ago, but you destroyed their plan. 3 years ago, somebody drew a circle on the ground, and you have been standing inside it ever since. I need to tell you what that circle is, and who drew it, and what happened last week. Because something broke, not slowly, not over months, last week. And you were there when it happened, and you didn't notice. First, I have to correct something, because you had this wrong for 3 years, and everything else depends on it. You think the trap was built to catch you, to hold you, to keep you in one place. It wasn't. Anybody can hold a person for a while. That's not difficult. And it isn't worth 3 years of anyone's time. Nobody built something that careful just to make somebody stay. The trap wasn't built to catch you. It was built to convert you. The whole thing, every year of it, every person in it had one target. Not your time or your money, not your peers. It was your character. They need you to become the same kind of thing they were. Because a person who has been treated the way you were treated is supposed to harden. That's the expected result. That's what usually happens. Do that to someone long enough and they start doing it to other people. That's not a side effect. That's how it spreads. Now let me show you the circle because you should know what you actually been standing. It's on the floor, drawn, and you've been inside it so long that you stopped checking where the edge was. You just know it's there. Everybody who has one knows the shape of theirs. Yours has rules. Don't say that. Don't ask for that. Don't expect that from people. Don't be so much. You kept those rules very careful for 3 years without anybody having to remind you. Hold on to that image. We're coming back to it, and it's going to look completely different by the time we do. There were five of them, not just one. That's the part nobody explains to you, and it's why you could never make it make sense. You kept looking for the one person who did this to you, and you couldn't find them because there wasn't one. There were five roles. Some people played more than one. Some came and went, but the roles never changed. The first one was the loud one, obvious, careless, the kind of person everybody could see. You spent an enormous amount of energy on this one. You defended yourself. You explained yourself. You lay awake constructing arguments you were never going to say out loud. And here is what that one was actually for. Nothing. That one was never the point. That one was there so your eyes had somewhere to go. 3 years of your attention spent on the easiest thing in the room to look at. Second one said nothing. This one was there, right there, close enough to see all of it, and never said a word. You made excuses for this one, and they didn't understand. It wasn't their place. They were in a difficult position too. The whole thing needed exactly one person to speak. One. If one person had said out loud what everybody in that room could see, it would have come apart. That's why the second one exists. Not to hurt you, to make sure nobody stopped it. The third one was close to you. This is the one that still hurts. So I'm going to say it plainly and move on. This one was warm, similar to you, like what you like, what was angry at the things you were angry at. And for a while you thought that finally someone who understood. They were learning you, where you saw, what stops you, which sentence makes you doubt yourself. And that information did not stay with them. You have wondered before how somebody knew a thing about you that you only ever told one person. Now you know. The fourth one, healthy. This is the cleverest one, and most people never see it at all. The fourth one did something real for you, genuinely, at a moment when you had nothing and needed something, and you have never forgotten it. That's the luck. Every single time you get close to walking away, that memory came back. But they were there for new ones. A debt you can never quite pay. Will hold the person longer than any threat ever could. The favor wasn't kindness. The favor was the boss. And the fifth one, you have never met. You don't know this one's name yet. You have probably never been in the same room. You may not know they exist. The other four worked for this one, and most of them didn't know it either. The old texts have a word for this. They called it an archon, not a demon, nothing with horns, something much duller than that. A keeper, something whose entire job is to make sure nothing gets out. That's the one that did the real damage and it never touched you. That's the design. The poor you can name were never the ones you needed to worry about. Now, here is what I actually need you to hear. And this is the part that's going to be hard to accept first. You are never alone in that. I know how that sounds. I know those 3 years felt like the loneliest thing you have ever been through. And I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But you weren't standing in that circle by yourself. They had five, so did you. Yours just never announced themselves. Go back to it. The sentence that arrived from somewhere on the worst day, from a person who had no idea what they just done for you. The hesitation you couldn't explain. The night you were going to send the message and something in you just wouldn't. The day you didn't go. You had every reasons to go. You said you would, and you sat there and you didn't move. And you called it laziness at the time. It wasn't laziness. The stranger who said the one thing that stayed in your head for a year. The exhaustion that showed up exactly when you were about to agree to something you would not have been able to undo. You called all of that luck or bad timing or your own weakness. It was the other five. You were never uncovered. You just couldn't see who was standing next to you. And there is a reason you couldn't. The five they sent were designed to be visible. That's the entire job of the loud one. That's why the close one got so close. You were meant to see them. The other five don't work like that. They arrive as a bad night's sleep, as a phone that died at the right moment, as a person you'll never speak to again, who said one sentence in passing and it stayed without for a year. Nothing you could point at, nothing you could show anybody without sounding like you were reaching. So you filed all of it under confidence and carried on believing you got through those 3 years on nothing. You didn't get through it on nothing. You got through it coward. And the reason you couldn't feel it is that the circle you were standing in was drawn specifically to make you believe you were standing there alone. That's what it was for, not to hold you, to convince you nobody was coming. And that's why the conversation never took. Because that's the thing about turning a person, it doesn't happen in one moment. It happens in 100 small ones where they get a little colder, a little more willing, a little more like the thing that hurt them. They ran all hundreds on you, and you kept coming out the other side, the same, still soft in the places you were soft, still unable to be cruel on purpose, still doing the decent thing when doing the decent thing cost you. They could not understand it. By every calculation they had, you should have hardened by year one. Something was holding. They couldn't see what. So they went to the last step because there always is one. Every plan like this has a final move, and the final move is always the same. They stop trying to break you and they give you a reason, a clean one, a justified, a moment where doing the exact thing they'd been trying to make you do would be completely fair. That was last week. You know the moment I'm talking about. You had it. Whatever your version was, the thing you could have said, the thing you could have sent, the information you could have used, the person you could have let something happen to by simply not stepping in, it was right there. Nobody would have blamed me. You'd have been within your rights. You had the receipts. Anybody who knew the story would have said you were entitled. And you didn't. You probably don't even remember it as a decision. That's the part I want you to sit with. It wasn't dramatic. There was no moment where you stood there weighing your options and choose to be the better person. You just didn't want to. Something in you looked at it and had no appetite for it, and you moved on with your day. You have not thought about it once since. That is the thing. That was it. That was the last step of 3-year plan. And you walked past it. The way you passed a shop you didn't need anything from. Think about what that actually means. They didn't fail because you resisted. Resisting would have meant it was working. Resisting means you wanted that and held yourself back. You didn't hold yourself back. There was nothing to hold back. You looked at the perfect opportunity to become the thing they'd spent 3 years building toward and felt nothing. No pull, no temptation you had to talk yourself out of. Just a small flat absence of interest. The way you'd feel about food you don't like. That's not strength. I want to be precise here because strength has been the wrong word your whole life. Strength is what you need when part of you wants the bad thing. You didn't need any. The part of you that would have wanted it was never installed. 3 years of work and the thing they were trying to grow had nowhere to grow from. Understand what that did. There was no step six. There wasn't one. If a person gets handed a perfect reason and still won't take it, there is nothing left to try. The whole structure had one output, and never an output never arrived. 3 years, 5 rows, everything working, and nothing came out. Now go back to the circle because I told you it would look different. And this is where you actually look at it. You've been standing in it for 3 years without checking what it's made of. You know the edge is there. You never had to test it. Look down. It's paint. That is all it ever was. There was never a wall. There is a line on the floor and a set of things you were told would happen if you crossed it. And you never tested a single one of them. Why would you? You were told by people who seemed certain at a time when you had no reason to doubt certainly, and it never occurred to you afterwards to go back and check whether the thing you'd been avoiding for 3 years had anything behind it all. Nothing was behind it. Not then, not now. And here's the part that's going to take you a while. You drew it. You did. With your own hand, carefully, exactly where you were told to draw it. They gave you the chalk. That's the entire trick. They never had to build anything. They only had to convince you that the line meant something, and then let you guard it yourself. For 3 years, you were the one security that circle had. So here's what's true now. They still have their five. The loud one is still loud. The silent one is still silent. The close one is still close to somebody. And the archon is still somewhere. Still keeping. Still making sure nothing gets out. Nothing of that has changed. What changed is that it stopped mattering. A system built for one result that has now definitely failed to get it. It is just noise with a schedule. It'll keep running. Machines do. It'll get louder for a while. The way things do right before they stop. And the last thing, You spent 3 years thinking you were the one who got caught, the unlucky one, the one who kept ending up in situations built for somebody else. You weren't caught. You were chosen for a conversion that didn't work. And there is no more expensive failure than that. They spent 3 years, five people, and a perfect final offer on one thing, matching you into them. And you're still you. The trap wasn't built to catch you, it was built to convert you. And it failed. Look down. It is paint. Do you understand it right now? And step over it.